Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rich. Alright, welcome to part 2 of this introduction into Render Like Wrightson. Mega talented, inspirational, influential Bernie Wrightson. Yeah, so this was all just a chain of kind of coincidences that led to this. I never really, there was no pre-planning involved. I was doing some tutorials, like introductions into different inking techniques, and I don't remember if I was doing a cross-section video and I had mentioned something about Bernie Wrightson, and just the title came to me, Render Like Wrightson, and I thought, well, you know what? He would be a really interesting artist to go through, so let's do it. So anyway, I create playlists if you've never been to my channel before, so look in the description box below and you'll see links to not only my inking tutorial videos that tie into what we're heading towards with this, but also playlists for this series. I didn't open that book of Wrightson stuff, so yeah, we've kind of immersed ourselves pretty heavily in Bernie's work, which is really cool, kind of unexpected, and something that I hadn't looked at in a long time. So it's ended up being a really fun project, and you know, hopefully we can do other artists and kind of pour through their body of work, ultimately with trying to extrapolate techniques from their work. So we ended on this page last time, so let's continue. And okay, so wow, this one has got actually more open. I was talking about in the last video, and I can tell looking at these that these are free-handed. But there are pieces that Wrightson did that have really long arced lines that are not only just long, but there's so many of them that all go the same direction that it does make me wonder. So I'm trying to autofocus my phone and the book is sliding down my desk. That he may have used some sort of edge with them. Like I'm getting a little bit of it kind of right here. That one thing you can do, sorry, this is interesting. I'm getting glare and all kinds of stuff going on right now. Okay, here. These look like, I mean, they could easily have been done freehanded because there's a few that drift. They probably were. But anyway, stuff like this at times made me kind of wonder if maybe he had some sort of straight edge that he would occasionally use, just to sort of help, like, at least throw down a few guidelines. This is kind of interesting. It almost has like an alien feel. Like the eggs, or I'm sure they're rocks, but anyway, so we won't spend too much time on this one. Interesting grass, though. You could see that he has like main sort of blades of grass, and then he has lines that go a different way that in beneath. And on my Patreon page, I actually found some prelim studies and drawings that Wrightson did leading up to these that I'll slowly start to post up. I posted one yesterday. Again, link in the description box below, and you can check those out. There's no charge. There's not a Patreon level that you have to be to see this stuff. I just what I tend to do is I'll put peripheral sort of information to some of my YouTube videos on Patreon. So if I have a nice still image or something like that, I'll upload it there just for people to check out. And I actually had a new Patreon supporter sign up last night, so I want to thank you. I don't have your name and I can't check really quick, but I will hit that on another video. Wow, this is really nice. So this actually has a nice, very positive and negative thing, and man, it's really cool. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to sort of pick apart not only the art itself, but the techniques that he's using to get the effects. That's kind of like the main purpose of Render Like Wrightson is when we're admiring the work right now, we're trying to get into the mindset of these Frankenstein plates because they're unique to themselves compared to work that Bernie did before this, which looked more brush heavy. This is more pen heavy. And I talked about tools in the last video, and I'll hit on that again a little bit. Sorry, I was checking something out on the page itself. Let me autofocus here really quick. It almost looked like there was white ink. And these little houses down here are beautiful. I don't know how well it shows up, but like this house in particular right here, like the windows and stuff like that, man, it's really cool. trying to get autofocus on it, but yeah. So there's three key things that you need to, well, besides skill level and a real good ability to draw and compose and a good sense of value and positive and negative and graphic reads. But, you know, obviously a lot of people that aspire to do something like this, the first thing that they start to do is they want to address the tools. So the triple combo that you're going to want to do anything like this is you're going to need good paper, you're going to need good ink, and you're going to need good pens. And they need to all work together seamlessly. You know, if you've got really watery ink on good paper and a pretty good nib, your paper may tear, and you may blame it on the paper because that's where you're seeing the result, but it's in fact the ink. So this was 1976. The rub is sure, you could probably track down the pens that Wrightson used in 1976 and get vintage crow quill nibs, but you're not going to have the ink that he used, and you're not going to have the paper. So it becomes problematic. But there's really, really good supplies that are made today, but you need a harmony between the three of them and then your ability. This is a great, great piece. I think I actually saw this in person. But yeah, so it's really, really important. I'm actually looking towards Japan for supplies, to be honest. I think that that's going to ultimately be where I'm going to get the best stuff. They seem to really put a lot of care into their supplies, and again, it's the harmony of the three. It's the paper, the pen, and the ink, and you want this magical combo of really durable paper, fantastic ink, and then great sharp tools that you can rely on. And the problem today is paper isn't made the way that it was 30 or 40 years ago, because there's chemicals and stuff that they use in paper to treat it, and it created waste, and the waste is illegal now. And you know, there's restrictions on lumber and certain paper sources, you know, the pulp that they use, and so a lot of paper now is recycled paper, and it all is problematic. It can be. It sounds like a lot of blah blah blah, but I'm telling you, if you really want to do something nice and you're trying to do great looking original art, you're gonna be very, very focused on this stuff, and I am. The original art has always been incredibly important to me and part of my process. And you know, I don't even sell my personal work, so the black drawing pieces that I do, you know, I keep them because it's part of me, you know. And anyway, so let's get back to Wrightson. So because these are black and white scans, it's very, very difficult at times to tell if he's used white ink in some of the spots. What I did notice, though, is I had a few scans, like that white line that cuts through the grass right here. Let me try to get my pen. That's white ink. That's white ink, or it could be a scratch in it, but those were put after the fact. Like, he didn't fill in the blacks and then leave those little gaps. You could do that, and at times, like when you fill in blacks, you can leave little bits and pieces of areas, but generally speaking, like, that is a white line that was put through it. So Wrightson does use white ink on these pieces. There's a little bit in here. There's a little bit right here. Some right here. So in here. And look, you could do pre-planning, and you could put a pencil line there and know to stop every single line that you're drawing at that point. But you're really going to stack hours and hours on your piece. You could see like one there and there. So he just minimally is using it. He probably threw a couple in here just to have this sort of sizzly fade. Beautiful, beautiful piece, though. And again, he juxtaposes line shapes. It's a stylish thing that he does, but you'll see like these pieces of grass aren't even really connected to anything, but it just looks cool. Like he's able to sort of stack patterns on things in an abstract way and actually kind of pull your eye and create like little sort of anomalies that are fun to look at. It's the same thing with the direction of things. You know, he'll have like a lot of the cloudiness or the explosive sort of energy stuff is going that way, but then up here he's got, you know, more this. Again, I'm looking through my phone, so this could be the indication of like a home or something. Like, I'm not sure based on it. The other thing I was noticing too when I watched the first video back is there's a lot of like hidden stuff in these pieces. The Big Reed, he does a lot of like silhouettes of shapes and patterns that create some pretty wild stuff. So he's definitely putting like hidden like monster faces and stuff like that in the work. There's no doubt in my mind that there's like skulls and stuff like that he's popping in everywhere, which is a fun thing. I mean, I've always liked that in like heavy metal album cover art where they kind of sneak in creepy stuff. So I saw this piece in person for sure, 100%. It was beautiful. It was a real stunner. Again, if you look at my Patreon page, I actually have a study of a similar piece to this. It's in the rain, and somewhere I actually did a recreation of this piece when very, very early in my career when I was getting into Wrightson stuff, and I was just kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. At some point, I actually redrew this whole piece and inked it. I didn't trace it, I didn't autograph it, but yeah, if I ever find it, I'll post it up. But I would do little studies just really for my own fun. I mean, I can't really explain it. Most of them probably were never seen by anyone. But yeah, occasionally I'll do it. And, you know, ultimately I don't know what I really walk away with when I would do them. But it was something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to get into that world. So I just kind of went for it. But yeah, so we'll break down all this stuff. It'll be fun. And in my... Render Like Wrightson episode 3 of the brush inking stuff, I show how to create patterns like this, what you're seeing right here. It's planning on Wrightson's part of where the values are going to be, and then it's just being able to blend with your tool. And with these, he's using a crow quill. So coming up in future videos, I'm going to start doing some really, really serious like tool dives, and I'm going to use the money from Patreon to actually like fund it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start going and buying lots of different tools, and I'm going to do reviews of them online, like not like scathing reviews, but I'm just going to really try to have a really good resource for artist tools, so that people can go, oh, you know, if you're looking for that, you should check out Rich's YouTube channel, because you know what, he's broke that down, he's tried those out, he's done different tests with them. And again, it's kind of inspired from a lot of the guitar videos that I watch, because there's so many gears and gadgets and stuff like that for instruments. And you know, people try to help explain the process. What's interesting with that too, and it's something that I have to be very careful with, is like they'll demo an amp, and you'll get where I'm going with this analogy in a second, but they'll go, oh, but this guitar has custom pickups, and I'm using this pedal, and I'm using these 5 other things. And it's like, no, dude, I want to hear the amp. Like, I don't want you to run it through a bunch of stuff that I don't have. So it's like, I'm not gonna do art demos with like tools that you can't get. Like we need to try paper with tools that people are going to be using. We need to use ink that people are going to use. And if we want to isolate something unique in the chain, meaning like the ink or the nib or whatever, then we need to just try it on a bunch of different surfaces. You get what I'm saying? Is like you can't add a bunch of stuff to the test that is going to help blend this stuff in. You want to see the raw tool and what it can do, and then what can you pair it up with that works the best. So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from watching all these guitar videos. It really has had an impact on the way that I look at my art and break things down and like learn things, because it feels fresh and a little like one step out of this. This is really beautiful. I love the line work that he did on the body. And again, if you're not familiar with Franklin Booth, I would highly recommend checking out Franklin Booth stuff. You could check out Joseph Clement Coles, and then also Gustav Doré, which most people know Doré's work. Doré, I don't know. But Franklin Booth is a little bit of a hidden gem. Maybe not as much now, but Franklin Booth to me is my favorite like pen and ink artist. I mean, outside of Wrightson, you get what I'm saying, is like of those 3, because Franklin Booth could draw so well, so his stuff is really fun to see the drawings. This is cool. So yeah, we'll do one more. I'll do a super fun Sunday, and we'll wrap up this book tomorrow. I had mentioned in the first video, it's really, really important to spend some quality time with these pages, because the thing is you have to understand, and I think most artists do, but this stuff is very, very time consuming to create. And Wrightson probably spent, 20, 40, 60, 100, maybe a few hundred hours on some of these drawings. And to only look at it for a minute or two, you're really not probably getting as much from it as you could. So, like I kind of mentioned with artist editions, when I get a new artist edition, meaning ones that are shot off the original art, it may take me months to go through the book, because I only go through a page or two a night, and I just kind of sit and stare at it, and I really sort of imagine what it would have been like to draw it, to ink it, and kind of like immerse myself in the world. And it's a really fun way to look at, man, those fades are great. This is really, really cool. Man, God, that is so awesome. Just speculating, I'm going to say that probably these longer lines are white ink, and he probably did these areas initially. It's without an RGB scan where you can actually see if it was white paint or not. It can be difficult in grayscale, but this, I would say, is all the original inks. And then these longer white lines, to me, probably were done with white ink, but he could have done it in pencil and then inked around them, meaning that like he had pencil lines indicating like, okay, here would be a space, here would be a space, here would be a space. You can get that psycho and actually just fill in the black in between all those spots. I've done stuff like that when I don't want to use white on a piece, just because it's like kind of cool to go at the end. I didn't use any white out on this. That's how crazy I am. I planned it so well that I didn't use any white. But I don't really know exactly how he did it. And again, these juxtaposed shapes and stuff like that to show form, but how it works consistently is because he's got such a good eye for value. I'm going to pull back so we can get like the further read on this piece. But do you see how nice that blends in, where really ultimately you don't see the odd direction that the shapes go, you just see really, really beautiful value. Kevin Nolan definitely was very influenced by parts of this work. There's no doubt in my mind that Nolan used some of this iconography in some of his works. And Kevin Nolan's great. If you don't know his work, it's Nowlan. So, man, this is a nice one. Really nice. I think I saw this one in person too. I saw maybe 5 or 6, and then a few like that were partially done. He had a few that crashed and burned, meaning just at some point he had worked on them and didn't really like the result he was getting, or felt that he'd maybe painted himself in a corner that it wasn't working, and so he didn't finish those. They were on the verge of doing an artist edition book of the Wrightson Frankenstein plates maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and this is the way I explain it. I'm just going to paraphrase, but like, say there's 120 Frankenstein plates. They were able to find about 80 of them, and there was a chunk that was missing. And they ultimately just didn't do the book. And I don't know what the reasons were that they didn't do the book, but I've said this before, and I would really highly encourage, like, if you ever catch wind of them even discussing the potential of it, I'll take part of what he did off of the original art any day. I'm telling you, if there's 100 and they can only find 50, I would still buy that book, and they could just do black and white reprints of the other ones if they have any sketches, and again, that unfinished stuff and whatever. They could put together a book that people would easily spend $100 on. There's no doubt in my mind that for 50 full size, full color reproductions of this stuff, I would drop $100 in a second. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Boom. So the originals go for thousands, and when I say thousands, I mean, I would say anywhere from 10 to 12 grand for some of the unfinished ones, and some of the studies were like 3 grand up to 30,000, 50,000, probably more. I would say maybe even 60 to 80 for some of the key pieces. So you're getting a deal. Right, we're gonna move this one pretty fast. Oh, I love this piece. I actually had this hanging on my wall in my office years ago, because I was trying to find one that was sort of different, meaning, I don't know, just like had a little bit of a different feel than some of the other Frankenstein plates. And I think because it had the exteriors of the houses and stuff like that, it felt like a little, it was one step removed from kind of like the bigger body of work. This is so fun to look at. I mean, I'm telling you, like, do we have fun on YouTube or what? This is such a fun channel, and we get to do so much fun stuff. We're looking at Bernie Wrightson together on a Saturday. I mean, come on. That's fun. I have to work today. I have to knock out a full page as soon as I get done with this. But man, it's so cool. Look at the rendering on his feet. He did like he's showing the form by the direction of the lines, and really get some cool effects, like the folds and stuff. This is very Franklin Booth right here. Like that sleeve on that guy's shirt with his arm up, the sort of rolled up area is super Franklin Booth. Man, this is cool. Wrightson was on fire at this point. 1977. He's like bringing it. He's getting ready to pick up Van Halen 1. He's listening to Kiss Alive 2. No, I don't know. Van Halen 1 came out in 78, I think. He was probably listening to Led Zeppelin, although Led Zeppelin was a little later in their career at that point. Yeah, the studio guys, they look like a rock band. When you see photos of the four of them together, Barry Windsor Smith, Michael Kaluta, and Jeff Jones and Wrightson, like, they could have just as easily been like some sort of a prog band from the 70s as comic book artists. Like, they were a cool looking group of dudes, that's for sure. All right, so this will be the last one for today, and then we'll finish up the book tomorrow, and then Monday we'll start knocking out some studies of little areas of this stuff as best as I can. I mean, it's time is always of the essence. I mean, like I always have limited time. Man, that is great. Again, lots of different directions. That's what makes this stuff look so kind of like stylized, and I don't know if cartoony would be the right word. It's he's just breaking stuff up. You know, you've got the blades of grass kind of going like directions that you would maybe see them, but then because the other line work goes different directions, it really makes it interesting. And again, I would highly recommend checking out Franklin Booth's work. You could Google him and find a bunch of his stuff. He has beautiful full color stuff too, but he's more known for the black and white work. But yeah, that's a lot of Franklin Booth in that. Virgil Finley's another guy that did a lot of kind of black and white sort of detailed stuff. You may want to check out. Finlay is Finlay. We'll do one more. I can't let you guys go. Okay, so you know what? This is one of the pieces that I saw a study of. So you go to my Patreon today. I'll post up a scrapped version of this drawing for y'alls. How's that? Oh, and see, and this is the stuff that I was talking about. Hold on, I'll get the glare off of this for a second, but we're going to talk about this a little deeper. God dang, what is going on with this lamp? It's like the freaking sun. All right, I pulled it down so it's out of the way. This stuff right in here, hold on, let me autofocus my camera. These. So, I'm going to autofocus again. Okay, so this stuff, these white dots in here, you could crosshatch this black and crosshatch it and crosshatch it, meaning sending lines going this way and probably this way, like a X going through here, and leave all these little white spaces. It's totally possible to do. Would take longer to fill in the black area that way, but 100% you could do it that way. So I've always kind of debated in my mind if that was what he did or if he went in with white and added some white dots. He may have done a combination of the two. A lot of it could have been just, you know, kind of slowly fading out all these little spots and then adding a little helping hand where maybe like some got blended out and you could go in with white. And again, you know, the reason that I'm discussing this stuff is there's a lot of nuance to this work and there's a lot of detail, and to just sort of take something at face value, you won't learn from it. You understand what I'm saying? Is like you have to sit and break this stuff down. Now, do I do this on my own? Like if I'm just looking at art? Rarely, honestly. I'm doing this because of YouTube, but I'll benefit from it because now it's stuff that I'm actually paying far closer attention to. But you know, I generally tend to work on instinct more, and I just kind of accumulate naturally. I don't have a ton of patience sometimes to study. Like I just want to get to it and try stuff, and then hit my head against the wall for 5 years until I figure something out that works for me. But you know, there's quicker ways to do it. I'm just taking the long road. But yeah, again, very stylish. Like what is this? It doesn't even matter. It just looks good. Again, faces everywhere. I'm telling you, like, this stuff is totally intentional. And like, really, when you look at the further reads, he does it quite a bit. Man, it's such a great piece. But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting for you to check out the Patreon and see the unfinished version of this, because I'm nearly sure it was a first pass at this piece that for whatever reason didn't work out for him. Let's zoom in on this real quick. Again, I apologize for the quality of this video in some spots. I don't know what's going on. It's the lighting, the time of day. It's a little later. I got stuck at UPS for over an hour today trying to print out one single page, because there was a big blackout in my neighborhood last night, and it fried like 3 other computers. There was a big explosion at like 3 in the morning. Some power converter or something went off. Good times in the city. This is beautiful. But you can do all this with some really, really, really simple techniques. But you need to have the drawing ability. I mean, I don't want to undersell it, like where someone's like watching this going like this isn't easy. What I'm saying is that there are steps that you can take to create similar effects, and then it really falls on your shoulders to get to the level where you're able to think it out and plan stuff and draw stuff to this level. But there are things that you can pull from this and put into your art now that will give you a little bit of an edge, a little pizzazz, and a little extra detail that will look really, really cool with some simple things. So, okay, check out the links in the description box below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Share my videos. I love that. It's so helpful to my channel. And then smash the like. All right, I'll be back tomorrow with a super fun Sunday. We'll wrap up this book. We've got some really good stuff coming up because Frankenstein starts to bring it. And yeah, and then early next week we'll start working on breaking down the techniques with actually where I'm showing like how to ink them. And then for people that are curious about the comic book project, what I'm going to do, I'm trying to settle on 2 days a week that I'm going to give updates and show sorry, my camera cut out. But yeah, for people following that series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 2 days a week that I'll consistently post updates on the book as to, one, not slow down the channel too much with sort of like this war of inches on that project, but yet you're going to get a good fix of it every week. So my thought right now is I might do Tuesdays and Fridays where I actually show what I've got going on with it. So just stay tuned for that. Don't worry, that will be part of the rotation of shows that we do here. Okay, all right, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.